Big changes could be coming to St James's Park next season, and no, it's not a replacement for Paul Mitchell as sporting director, and it's not even new players. No, the club are allegedly considering introducing dynamic pricing for hospitality tickets. So the main question is this the way forward? Is this how you beat PSR? As a way of increasing revenue without raising base prices? Or is it yet another exploitative measure as a way of pricing loyal, everyday, hard-working fans out of match days and just focusing more on corporate instead of community? All that coming up in today's video. A very happy Monday morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Magnificent Mags channel. I hope your work and week's going well so far and you've had a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. And I just want to say a big thank you. I've just seen the response to my last video on the training ground at Darcy Park and a potential move up to the racecourse. And honestly, over 3,000 views and more than doubling my subscribers to, I think it was 271 on my last check. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. Thank you so much because without yourselves, this channel wouldn't exist. So all the feedback, it's always welcomed, as I said, whether it's good, constructive or bad. I'll listen to it all, and as long as it helps improve this channel for it to grow so I can keep bringing you content that it seems that you do like, I'll listen to all of it, then please keep that coming. I am so grateful. I'd never expected that kind of response. But let's get on with today's video. So yes, dynamic pricing. Now I'm doing this video after a little research last night off the back of Joel Bland's post on X. It is rumoured that the club are considering bringing in what's called dynamic pricing for hospitality tickets. Now, I'll just caveat that and say, at the moment, it is just hospitality tickets. There's nothing to say it'll come into general sale, but obviously that's a worry that could then happen, because obviously if one thing's successful in one area, why shouldn't it work in another? But dynamic pricing, what is it? If you're unaware of it, well, it's not a new thing. It's been around for years in the travel industry, especially train tickets, plane tickets, and hotel tickets. And the four factors it's based on are opponent strength, the importance of the game, demand, and the time of your booking. So I'll use an example. If you've got a Champions League game, and say if it's a group stage game or if you're in the knockouts and you're playing, let's use this as an example. Newcastle get the quarterfinals next season and we're playing Real Madrid. Wouldn't all of that? Again, remember, it's just an example. I'm not thinking that. But we're playing Real Madrid in the quarterfinals, and the demand would be through the roof and everyone would want to get on early. So the way it works is, if you're playing a big opponent in a big fixture, the earlier you get on, where there's more demand, your ticket would cost less than, say, someone who logged on as opposed to 9 AM, they logged on at 5 PM. Your ticket at 5 PM would cost more than someone logging on at 9 AM. As I said, it's been in the travel industry for years. So the cup final for us, for example, when we've been there in 2023 and then back in March, soon as we're there, demand's through the roof. Everyone wants to go there, whether they've got a ticket or not. And then you noticed hotel prices went through the roof, train prices went through the roof. Now, there's a way you can slightly get around that to bring the cost down. Every time you search for the same type of location or train or plane somewhere, for example, then the price will increase. However, if you clear your browsing history of that search, then it'll bring the price back down as if you're searching for it the first time. But if you never clear your browsing history and you keep looking for the same location and type of flights or train, then that price will keep increasing every time you go on. That's how it works. But yeah, it's based on demand. So as opposed to a Champions League game, let's use last season as an example. Wimbledon, the game got moved here after their pitch was flooded in the third round of the Carabao Cup. A League Two team at home, midweek, there wouldn't be as much demand. So even if you went on early as opposed to later, the difference, yes, there'd be a difference, but it wouldn't cost that much because it's a League Two team in a lesser competition. And I know we've won that trophy, but it's a fact. It is a lesser competition than the Champions League. Now, examples, we wouldn't be the first club to introduce it. A club using it in this country at the moment, Arsenal. And it hasn't gone down well. You've seen the minimum cost for their season tickets. I can put examples on the screen. Now, I use Arsenal as an example because it's close to home. The Stop Exploiting Loyalty campaign means the club upheld their commitments to concessionary tickets, disability access members and seniors, and young adults 18 to 24 had that allocation increased by 1,000 so they can attend games at reduced prices. However, one big issue outstanding surrounds classification of games in the Champions League. Arsenal qualified, obviously finishing second in this category A and B matches. So this makes them among the most expensive fixtures to attend, even though many supporters see qualification at knockout rounds via the new 36-team format as a formality. The point of the spiralling costs of competing at both the top end of the league and Champions League. And the financial results saw their overall wage bill balloon by 40% to 328 million. Then to culture clash. Kroenke Sports, American owners. Cost of watching live sport in North America. That means dynamic pricing comes into play. So average ticket in the NFL was $120 for the 23-4 season, according to Statistica. And there's been a steady rise in cost over the past 15 years. A prime example of dynamic pricing came in August of last year when OasisReunion tickets went on sale. Ticketmaster came under fire for this, but in March of this year, the Watchdog and Competition and Markets Authority found no evidence of this. So are they telling the truth, or is it two fingers up to fans saying stop crying your heart out and don't look back in anger? If you go into Europe, Valencia introduced it last season for games at the Mestalla. And then if you go over the pond, to our friends in America, well, it's already a thing in Major League Baseball, the NFL, and basketball, the NBA. So main one is you could keep the base price. As I said at the outset of the video, you'd keep your lowest price ticket. For example, say it was a League Cup game, it'd be £20, but then the scale would go up and down like that. And that means you could also bring in extra revenue, which could be invested in other areas of the club. So obviously, the main one's the playing side. Means you can maybe offer better wages, higher transfer fee to get the targets you want. Like, for example, at the moment, we're competing with Liverpool. It's heard for Gehi, or going for Mbumo against Manchester United. Obviously, they've been players we've been linked with who we could be missing out on for all the reasons discussed. Also means it offers flexibility, as I've said. If you've got a Real Madrid, you pay more. However, if you can't afford to go to that game, but you still want to go to a game, you could go to a cheaper competition, which would be a League Cup game, as I've used as an example against Wimbledon, make it more affordable. So there's flexibility between the strength of the competition, the strength of the opponent, the demand, how big the importance of the game is, etc, etc. And then it also encourages early booking. So if you're on at 9 a.m. as opposed to 5 p.m, you get that ticket for a bit cheaper. A big con is the unpredictability of it. What's going on at the moment? A cost of living crisis. Now, fans might be able to get to all of these games. So they'll pick certain ones, as we all do. I do that with away games. I can't afford to go to them all, but I try to go to at least half of them every season, if it comes to my points. But if you're picking certain games, and this is for home games, just say, I can't afford to go to this match, so I'll go to hospitality and just about afford it. But then, if a loyal, everyday, hard-working fans then priced out of hospitality, that would be then hoovered up by corporate. And then that means you're then putting corporate above community. And we've always been a community club. We've got a loyal, hardcore fan base. Obviously, we're growing with fan base abroad. You've got fans down south, up in Scotland, and then the bordering counties, Northumberland, North Tyneside, where I am, South Tyneside, County Durham. And it just means, the loyal, hard-working fans being priced out in favour of corporate. And I just feel, in a cost of living crisis, that would put the club a little bit out of touch with reality. And we don't really want to go down that path because it is a slippery slope. And fans do budget because they want to go not just themselves, but they want to take the children, then they want to take the grandchildren when they're older. That's how this cycle continues. The family all get ingrained in the black and white way, get it in your blood, and then it just passes on through generations of following our fantastic club. Now, one thing I did notice when I was doing my research is consumer protection legislation. Now, that's an even slippier slope because if pricing is deliberately omitted or hidden from fans, when it comes to buying tickets and there's no transparency, well, you just don't want to envisage it going down that path, because The club is already under fire, like a lot of other clubs, when it comes to selling the tickets on these secondary ticket websites. And I've got a good example to use soon of a story I found in The Guardian. Now, what do you think as fans? I want to hear your comments. Is this the way to beat PSR, to circumvent it? It brings in that extra revenue, as I've said, and it means that it can be invested in the playing side, and that means we can go for a top target, as it's been rumoured. Again, the club have said nothing, which is good, but all the rumours in the press are we're going for Gehi, we're going for Mbumo, and it means when we're competing against the likes of Liverpool or Manchester United, we could also go to those same wages or transfer fees. I'm not saying that I want to do that, but it just means we could be more competitive in this market we're in against these more established clubs with bigger revenue. Or is it just what I've said? Is it making the game more inaccessible for the everyday hard-working fan? And I'm going to go to this Guardian example because, honestly, I did feel upset when I read this. It's not nice, but what it was is, and it came off the back of the recent FA Cup final between Manchester City and Crystal Palace. And Tom Greatrex of the Football Supporters Association said he feels it's a smokescreen for exploitative pricing models and fans won't stand for it. And this woman, who quite rightly doesn't want to be named, she said she was buying tickets as a Manchester City fan for her 8-year-old nephew so she could take him to a massive occasion and potentially see his team win the FA Cup. And she said that she felt exploited after buying 2 cup final tickets for £1,500 each. And that came obviously to a total of £3,000. But then 2 weeks later, she's seen the same tickets advertised for only £800, £399 each. And that is disgusting. It is just an example of how bad dynamic ticket pricing can be. Now, I just wanted to use that as an example. I'm not turning this into a rant. I just want this to be a debate between myself and yourselves. I want to hear your comments because what was incepted as a working man's game, it just feels like the everyday fan is being pushed aside in some respects for the corporate aspect. It's all about the money these days. But I feel like I'm not saying this on the club. Again, nothing's been revealed. It's all alleged based on Joe Bland's post on X. But what I'd like is transparency in this. That's key. As long as the fans are consulted, and if the club want to introduce it, it's ran by the fans. The club explain the reasons why they are doing it. Now, off the back of everything I've discussed, I'd like to hear your comments. Which camp are you in? The pro side of it or the con side of it? Do you think that the club would be right to run it by the fan advisory board, then have a fan forum, a consultation, introduce it as a test to begin with in hospitality, see if it works? If it does see if the revenue then gets diverted in areas of the club where we want investments, such as the playing side or infrastructure? Or are you in that con side where you think it's just another exploitative measure where it'll be designed as just being introduced in hospitality first, but then it'll seep into general sale, and it's just another way of taking our working class game away from we're focusing on money and more about corporate than community and pricing the everyday hard-working fan out of going to match days and being able to bring the younger generation in terms of their children and grandchildren. But yeah, please let me know what you think. And when this video is done as well, to get more interaction, to see what fans really think, on each platform where it's possible, I can't remember them off the top of my head to be honest, but I'll run a poll. I'll tag obviously Toon polls in, that's the way, on NUFC social media, and I'll make sure everyone sees it. I'll share the post of this video, but then on top of that I'll put the poll underneath, and I want to see what everyone's thoughts are, whether they're in favour of it or whether they're against it. But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Monday morning. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. If you do like what I do, drop all my socials a like. And for the latest videos dropping on YouTube, please continue to subscribe to the channel as you have done and turn on those notifications. And they'll drop in your inbox when the next one's uploaded. But until the next one, take care. Bye for now.